My Michelle, I lost the love of my life in 2016 to an overdose. I'm sorry that you I'm sorry that you had to experience that. You know what I'm saying? That you had to go through that kind of pain. I can't only imagine. You know what I'm saying? I can't even speak on it. I mean, I can speak on losing people to overdoses. You know what I mean? I know what that feels like, but not the love of my life. And I'm sorry that you had to lose the love of your life in such a way. You know what I'm saying? I used to be a heroin addict. Oh, could I say that on the fly? Well, I used to be some kind of addict, right? And when I was in prison, I had a cellie. Me and him, like in prison, it's very hard to get a good cellie, like a cellie that you vibe with, because you're gonna have to spend 24 hours a day or majority of your time together in this little box. You know what I'm saying? 6 by 9 foot cell, the size of probably like a parking space. You know what I'm saying? When you pull up to a grocery store and you park your car, well, our cell is about that size. You feel me? And you end up in prison. You oftentimes get a lot of bad cellies. You know, dudes that don't know how to do time, dudes that got mental issues and are stressed out. They don't know how to like understand the situation. Like, look, man, we gotta make the most of this situation. We gotta make the best of it for both of us. You know what I mean? But every now and then you get you a good cellie, and I had got me a good cellie, and we were cellies for like 3 years. And those 3 years we got really, really close. Like, he would share his family with me. He would tell me about his life and everything. And the homie, basically, he got his baby mama pregnant when he got locked up. She was pregnant with his daughter, and he ended up doing 14 years. And so his daughter basically was born while he was in prison, and she grew up knowing her dad from prison, right? And so when we were cellies, I used to like draw, because I do art. I'm an artist too, right? I used to draw like cards and pictures for his daughter, and his daughter ended up loving me like an uncle. So she would always call me Uncle Danny. We would go to visiting together, we hang out, see his daughter at visiting. We also had a cell phone in prison, so we would FaceTime all the time. She was about 13. Well, I watched her grow up, but she would have like boy issues and stuff like that. So I help her with boys and give her advice, and we got really, really close. But the bad thing about everything was that me and my cellie, we were active users. You know what I'm saying? We were strung out in our active addiction, right? And when my boy had about 6 months left to go home, he had a heart-to-heart with me, and he told me, he's like, look, bro, I want to stop using, and I don't want to use, like, I don't want to be using it to the day I parole and parole with a drug, with a I don't even know what words I could use anymore, but I don't want to parole with as an addict, right? And then I was like, that's cool. Hey, more power to you, bro. Go ahead and quit. You know what I'm saying? Do your thing. But if y'all users know, it's hard to quit. You feel what I'm saying? It's hard to quit, one, because you become physically dependent on it, but it's hard to quit, especially when it's around you. So he's in a box with me 24 hours a day, and I'm still actively in my addiction, and he's not. But I'm around him. I'm using, and I'm, you know what I mean, got paraphernalia all over the cell, and so, and at the same time, I was like a jerk about it, because, like, you know, still young-minded, still my addiction and everything. So I used to always like tease him, like, are you sure you want to quit? You sure you don't want to hit? Are you sure you don't want to, you know what I mean, party or whatever? So the whole 6 months prior to him paroling, he would basically quit and relapse, quit and relapse. And a lot of his relapsing had to do with me being a jerk and egging him on. Are you sure? Are you sure? Come on, dog. Come on. Let's do this. Come on. You're my buddy, dog. We're, you know, prison subs. We're stuck in the cell. Let's get a head change or whatever, right? So my boy kept on relapsing all the way up to the day he paroled. And then prior to him paroling, he was like, yeah, Danny, don't trip. You know, when I get out, I got you, my boy. I'm gonna look out for you. I'm gonna send you package and put money on your book, send you some pictures. You can hit my line, you know what I'm saying? Call me, you know what I mean? Whoop, whoop. I mean, we've been selling for 3 years. We were like brothers, right? And I told him, I said, look, bro, when you get out, just get on your feet and do your thing. I'm not even gonna holler at you until later on down the line, you know what I'm saying? After you establish yourself and you got on your feet, like, don't worry about me. Like, go take care of you and yours, take care of you and your daughter, your family. Because it ain't easy, like, after 14 years getting out of prison and trying to reestablish yourself in society again. So don't even trip about me. Don't even look backwards, like, look forwards. And later on down the line sometime, I'll hit you up. I'll give you a holler, right? So, like, 6 months later, after he paroled, I called his phone, and he wasn't answering. Like, it wasn't answering at all, right? So I was like, man, what the hell? What's up with my boy? So then I seen his baby mama on Facebook, and I messaged her, and I told her to tell the homie to holler at me. And then she messaged back, and she was like, call me, right? So I called her and I was like, what's good? Like, where's the homie at? And she's like, Danny, you don't know? You didn't know? I was like, what are you talking about? And she said, he's dead. And I was like, what? Like, what you mean? And she said that basically 2 months after doing 14 years in prison, my boy got out and she came home one day after work and she went to the bedroom and knocked on the bedroom door and he didn't answer the door and she figured he was in there taking a nap or something like that, right? So as time went by, she went to knock on the door again and he didn't answer the door. She's like, man, this is strange. Something weird about this. So she went around the house and climbed through the bedroom window and she found him. And basically my boy, he, I don't even know if I could use the word, but he passed away from his use, right? And completely broke my heart, completely shattered my heart into a million, billion, trillion little pieces. And then I talked to his daughter. She got on the phone. She was crying, and I told her, like, baby, you all right? And she's like, yeah. She was just telling me, like, he was locked up my whole life, and I never got to be with him, you know? And now, after 2 months after he got out, he's gone, you know? And she asked me, and I was still in my active addiction, and she asked me, she said, Uncle Danny, are you using? And I lied to her. I said, nah, baby, I'm not. And she says, please don't use Uncle Danny, because when you get out and you come home, I need you. I want you to still be in my life. I still want you as my uncle. And it completely, like, broke me to hear this little girl say this. And I felt really bad because I felt like I was the reason why her dad passed, because I just kept on thinking about all the times when he was, like, begging me not to let him give him no stuff, or not to offer him no stuff. And I still would, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was playing around with his sobriety like it was a game or something, you know? Because I was so foolish. And after I hung up the phone with her, I was so broken by everything that transpired. I literally just slammed the phone in prison. The phone cost like $2,000 to $3,000 a phone. I literally just slammed the phone on the ground, broke it, boom. Then I grabbed all my stuff, paraphernalia, and I just flushed it down the toilet. Flushed everything. I flushed everything down the toilet, and I went into a dark, deep depression. Like, I stopped talking and I stopped eating, right? And I didn't believe in God at that time. I wasn't a Christian at that time. And I sat in my cell. I covered up all the windows. I turned off all the lights, and I was just in complete darkness. And I stopped talking. I stopped coming out of my cell. I stopped showering. I stopped everything. I stopped eating. I was just completely broken. And I believe at that time, like, God sent angels to me because there were brothers on the tier who knew, like, they knew what was going on with me. And these brothers would literally come to my cell, tell the gun tower to crack my door. They would literally go in my cell and drag me out of my cell and force me to go take a shower. And they would literally, like, force feed me. Like, they made meals and they literally, like, spoon fed me. Like, put this spoon of food in your mouth and eat it. You know what I'm saying? And while they're doing all this in the day room, like, force feeding me and forcing me to shower, a group of them would go in my cell and clean my whole entire cell. Make sure my cell was clean, make sure everything was right. They would stack food in my locker, make sure I had stuff to eat, you know, if I wanted to eat, whatever. And these brothers basically kept me alive when I couldn't do it for myself. And when I look back on that, when I look back on all that, I don't look at those brothers as brothers. I look at them as angels that God sent. You know what I'm saying? Like, God was like, nah, I got a plan for this dude right here. You know, like, nah, devil, you ain't gonna get him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got a plan for this dude right here. So, because I stopped talking and because I was losing myself, they transferred me to another prison that had better, like, mental health program, right? And I stopped talking for, at that time, close to a year. It was like 11 months. I didn't talk. I was so broken. I was so broken at that time that I just went inside of myself. And then I just stopped talking. I can't explain it. But I remember when I transferred to another prison, they sent me to Corcoran, right? I went to Corcoran. And when you get to Corcoran, when you first get to a new prison, they take all of your property. And then they put you in the cell. And then later on down the line, the staff at where they call R&R, which is the receiving and releasing part of the prison, they'll get you your property to you, right? And I remember when I was sitting in my cell, I had nothing, just my mattress, and that's it. I had nothing, and I wasn't talking. I was stressed out, and I remember I cry out to two people when I'm at my lowest. I cry out to God, and I cry out to my mama, right? And I remember I was sitting there in the cell, and I cried out to my mom. And y'all might sound crazy or whatever, but I had conversations with her, you know? And I cried out to her, and I told her, Mom, like help me, Mom. Like, I'm so weak right now, right? And my mom was like, in the conversation I was having with her, my mom was like, why are you being an idiot? You know what I'm saying? Like, you got a mouth to talk. Use it. Like, don't sit there when people, like, wish they could talk and they can't. You have the capability and you're not even using it. She's like, stop being an idiot. Like son, snap out of this, you know? But I stuck to it. I was like, I'm not going to talk. Like, I'm still hurting, Mom, you know? And I remember when I was going through all that, my door cracked. In prison, when they crack your door, it's like electronics. So, right? My door cracked and I stuck my head out the cell. And in the day room was a R&R, receiving and release officer, with my property. He's like, come down here and get your property. So I go downstairs and he's issuing me my property. But by then, I was kind of famous in the prison as the dude that doesn't talk. Like when I hit the prison, when you initially come to the prison, they ask you your name, your prison number, stuff like that. And I didn't talk. I just stood there. And so the cops, they got mad. They're like, what's up with this dude? But then they see my file, and the file said like, this dude, he's mentally deteriorating and he doesn't talk. So when I went down there to get my property, the cop was like, oh, you're the dude that doesn't talk, right? And I just standing there like, whatever. I didn't say nothing. So he's issuing my property, and he's trying to like crack jokes, and he's trying to start a conversation with me, thinking that he could break through to me, right? And I was just like, just taking my property and putting it in the bag, like, whatever. I'm not saying nothing, dude. You know what I mean? Which is cool of him, because he's seen someone in the struggle. He's trying to break me out of my struggle. But at the end, this is why I tell y'all that God, he has this like plan for you that you can't even wrap your mind around. Like I shared, you know, like even when I didn't know him, he knew me. You know what I'm saying? And so trip out on this. So the cop gave me all my property, and I had to sign for it. When I got done signing for it, my last name is spelled L-E. It's pronounced Le, kind of like leche, right? But a lot of people pronounce it wrong. They pronounce it like Lee, like Bruce Lee. But I don't have two E's in my last name. It's just L-E. It's not L-E-E. That's like Bruce Lee's last name. My last name is L-E, so it's pronounced Le. And my mom, she had this thing where she felt like our name is something that's very important to us, especially here in America, as Asians, as Vietnamese, on a foreign soil. So whenever someone pronounces our name right, our last name, our family name, she always told me to thank them. And I always noticed, like, my mom, even though she didn't speak English that well, anytime someone pronounced our last name correctly, she always thanked them. Thank you. She even did it when I was in court. Like, I was in court and the judge pronounced our last name correctly, right? And so when I got sentenced and everything, they had an interpreter for my mom, and they asked my mom if she wanted to say anything. And the only thing my mama said in court to the judge was, thank you for saying our last name correctly. That's all she said in my sentencing. And that's how important to her people pronouncing our last name correctly was. So when I signed my property from the RNRCO, he said, hey, Len, you have a blessed day, or you have a nice day. And I walked away. I was walking away with my property, and I heard the dude say my last name correctly. And I heard my mama in my heart and in my mind and my spirit telling me, boy, you better turn your monkey ass around and go back over there and tell that dude thank you for saying our last name correctly, right? And so I had my property, and I'm like, damn, man, I ain't talking almost a year. But I felt like I'm a mama's boy, and my mom is talking to me. Like, I have to listen to my mom, especially something that's that important to her. Like, forget what's important to me. Forget me wanting to be selfish and not talk. It's more about my mama in spirit talking to me, and I need to acknowledge her. You know what I'm saying? So I'm telling y'all, listen to this. I was walking away, took about 10 steps or so, and I just stopped. I said, man, I turned around and I walked back to this officer, right? He was a white dude, young too, probably like late 20s. I walked back to him. I looked the dude dead in his eyes, and I said, hey man, thank you for saying my last name right. And the dude was shook. The CEOs that were around him was shook. They're like, what? He actually talked. Like, they were tripping out because I finally said something, right? And they were so shocked they couldn't say anything. They were just looking at me like eyes wide open, like, did he just actually talk? And I was standing there, and I asked him, I said, how did you know how to say my last name correctly? And the dude smiled, and he said, my favorite restaurant that I go to is a Vietnamese restaurant. And the lady that runs the restaurant, her last name is your last name, Miss Le. And she told me, I pronounced it wrong the first time I told her. I called her Lee, Miss Lee. And she corrected me and told me, no, it's Le. And I just started crying. I started crying because my mom worked at a restaurant when she was alive, all her life. She was a chef. And just the way the story connects. It's like another Vietnamese lady that worked at a restaurant corrected the CEO and told him, like, no, that's not how you say our last name. Our last name is Le. Just like how my mom was. And it was this lady who told the CEO how to say her name correctly. He ended up meeting me, someone who had that same last name who was in the lowest state of depression, who stopped talking for almost a year. By him saying my last name correctly, I was able to snap out of it and come out of my darkness. And you can't tell me that God ain't have his hand in it. Like, you guys be thinking like, oh, this dude's tripping. Like, there's no such thing as a spiritual realm. This dude's crazy. He say he talks with his mom. Yeah, you can think I'm crazy all you want. But until you go that deep, until you open up that portal, you open up that channel, until you open yourself up spiritually and understand that we are in the spiritual realm, then you will tap in. And when you tap in, you will get everything I'm saying. Your ancestors that passed on, people that love you, God, they can't communicate with you unless you acknowledge them, unless you let them know that you hear them, unless you let them know that you know they're around you. Until you open that door and you have faith that you can actually communicate with them, then the connection begins. And then they can help you. But if you choose to remain like unspiritual, or you choose to like not believe that we're in the spiritual realm, then you will never ever be able to experience a lot of the stuff that I experienced.